Trenton 365 with Jacque Howard. Profiling the businesses, organizations, and people that make Trenton better.
Hello, friend, and welcome to the Trenton 365 show. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. You're listening over WIMG 1300, New Jersey's oldest radio station, and you can follow us on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WIMG 1300. The Trenton 365 show is on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter at Trenton 365, and you can post your events to the Trenton 365 community calendar page on Facebook as well. If you're watching, it's over WPHY covering Mercer County, New Jersey through the Verizon Fios network, and this broadcast will air on Friday night at 11 p.m. Without any further ado, I've got Pastor Charles Wilkins, who's in the house. We've just met recently, courtesy of Leon Crawford Jr., and he is the pastor of Grant Chapel AME Church, which is a 90-year-old AME church here in the city of Trenton. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howard. Welcome. Glad to be here.
For sure. It's a pleasure to have you, sir. So let's get started right away. Earlier, you were talking, you are originally from Chicago.
Yes, born and raised north of Chicago, Evanston, Illinois. Came here about almost 30 years ago now. Spent 21 years in South Jersey, pastoring a church, Bethel, Millville, and came up here the third week of July.
Now, what's it like traveling from Chicago coming east? I'm sure the weather is a little bit more.
It's a shock, culture shock, weather shock, all kind of shocks. But I've become a New Jerseyan. Is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the besides the weather and the culture shock, what is it that's different about the Midwest and the East Coast?
I just think it's for me. It seems that the Midwest, the seasons. The seasons are a little more distinguishable. Here in New Jersey, you can go to bed in winter and wake up in summer. So it's a little different, yeah.
Okay, great.
But I enjoy it now.
Awesome.
I enjoy it. Wonderful people.
Awesome.
Great people here, yeah.
So early on, were you someone who knew at a young time in your life that, hey, I really want to get involved in ministry. I want to be a pastor. Was that like
Not at all.
calling?
Not at all. I ran from it as hard as I could run. But you can't run from God. And so I answered the call, and I wouldn't do anything else. I love it. I love the people. I love God, of course. I love the work. Mm-hmm. And, I've had wonderful opportunity because of the AME Church. I have a wonderful bishop, Bishop Gregory Ingram, who was nice enough and wonderful enough to send me here to Trenton, where I've met some wonderful people.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'd like for you to go back and just share a bit about your story, like how you come to accepting the call. Because I think a lot of people may have some anointing on their lives, right, or have that calling, right, but maybe they're, like you said, right, they may have run from it.
Right. I was the youngest of four boys, and I was, trying to do everything I thought I was big enough and bad enough to do. And, I had my troubles here and there, nothing too bad. And I started off as a choir director, and actually in my mother's choir, directing grown folks. Mm-hmm. And they have a way of putting you in line when you get out of line. And I felt the call to do more. And I felt God had just turned me around, rescued me from a lot of situations. And I found that he wasn't looking for perfect people. He was looking for people he could perfect. And so I fell in love with him, and I fell in love with the church, fell in love with the AME Church. And when I answered my call, I just found that he surrounded me with wonderful, nurturing people, and people that would take the time to mentor me and care for me. And as I came through the years, I had opportunities to travel, to meet people, to do things. I actually came to New Jersey as a bivocational pastor, as a regional manager for a home improvement company. I had 7 states, but I was stationed here in New Jersey. And when I made the decision to transfer from Chicago to New Jersey, doors started opening, and it's just been a wonderful experience, And I would say anyone who feels a call, God, I don't think is looking for anyone to be perfect. we'll be perfect when we see him.
Yeah.
But I think he has a way of molding us that only he can do. And he cares for the ones he calls. And that's the experience I've had. And I have never wanted to do anything else once I answered that call.
I do want to drill down on that, and we're going to talk about the details about what's happening over at Grant Chapel AME Church here in Trenton, New Jersey, and I'm speaking with Pastor or Reverend Charles Wilkins. And Pastor, the reason why I asked that is I think that there's this this energy of people who, especially here in Trenton, who are seeking something.
Right.
And when they're seeking it, I think that a lot of times, especially if you kind of grew up with someone in your house who's like been involved in church, I think that a lot of times people shy away from that because in their mind they're thinking it's one thing or another.
Right.
Or, hey, I'm not a holy roller, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to proselytize, or I'm not going to travel. I don't want to be a missionary and those things.
Right.
But not realizing that that's not, like, God's not putting people into like these very specific boxes.
No, not at all. And what I found, and I have so many friends who I came up with or met in my journey, and they have great faith, but ministry was not their calling. And, there is this thought that, it can't be fun. And you're not living anymore. And I don't think I started living until I answered the call. And I think sometimes the church, unfortunately, we show people church before we show people God. And for me, I was blessed to have loving parents that had a great faith. And, my father had not a lot of use for church as much as my mother, but he always had a great faith. And I saw what that did in his life. And I saw what it did in the lives of my family. And I think sometimes, for one reason or another, we try to capture people and make them church people before we make them God's people. And, God really, we catch him, he cleans them, and that's really how it works. And so I think sometimes, and not for any bad reason, but out of our just zest, our zeal to want to see people live a better life, we forget, that he fed folks. It was hard talking to hungry people, and so if we can meet those physical needs, then it becomes, they become available and accessible, and they're more apt to listen to the wonders of the gospel. But on an empty stomach and no roof over the head, it's hard. But I think the church is come full circle, and we realize now that we're going back to what we were created to do, and that was to serve people. Jesus served. And when we can catch that vision to serve people, people will want to know why. Why do you love me when I feel unlovable? Why do you want to shelter and feed, and why do you want to see me have medical care, and why do you want to do those things for me? And when we make them understand, it's nothing in me. On my own, I really probably wouldn't do much good. But with God in me, there's great and wonderful things we have to offer. The AME Church, because of its history, because of its belief, because of our practices, I find it to be one of the greatest churches it is. But anyone who is following the tenets of Jesus Christ will understand that we have to first win people's hearts. And you can't win a hungry man's heart. But if you can feed them and you can love them. See, sometimes our words don't match our actions. We have a generation of young people that we're losing, many of them, because of that our words don't match our actions. And when that happens, then they find other avenues to become happy or fulfilled or satisfied. So,
Now, I do want to circle back around, and for those who have heard of AMA, African Methodist Episcopal, can you just give a little history about that, please?
Founded right here in this area, founded in Philadelphia, Richard Allen. and our headquarters is in Philadelphia. This is the first district. This is where it was founded, between Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, and that was the founding. And it was a church founded on, a people seeking freedom and freedom to worship as they chose. And Mother Bethel is in Philadelphia, and so the A.M.E. Church has led in the political life and the social life and the cultural life of people, and we still do that. And I believe that because of that, we've not just made AMEs better, we've made people better. Mm-hmm. And I believe that because of our open hearts and open hands, people have come to find that it's not about denominational as much as it's about relational. And, and if you understand that I love you just because you're another human being, and I'm not going to be well unless you're well. Mm-hmm. And I'll be broken as long as you're broken. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so much of what Richard Allen and the founders of our denomination sought to bring a race of people at that time, but now all peoples, into an understanding that God loves you, and we are only just vehicles. We are just tools in His hands, and our task is just to show His love through our actions.
Mm-hmm. I'm speaking with Charles Wilkins, who is the pastor of Grant Chapel AME Church here in Trenton, New Jersey. Pastor, you had touched a little bit on the younger generation and how you feel as though some of them are searching for something and they can kind of get caught up in some other things. What are some of the things that Grant Chapel AME and AME as a international body, what are you doing to reach out to some of the younger folks? One
of our primary goals is same as it was with Richard Allen, and that is to educate people. People in ignorance, living in ignorance, will imprison themselves. And so education is a big tenet of ours. Our health care, making people whole, mental health. We don't talk, unfortunately, a lot about mental health, and some would say, especially in the black church, that sometimes we don't talk a lot about mental health. We are attacking those issues. Everyone knows of our work in HIV and AIDS, but it goes beyond that. We have to teach people how to eat well so they can live well, so they can stay here until He calls them and not the butcher, or the baker. But I believe that the work that the AME Church has done and still does affects persons well beyond the boundaries of the AME Church. And our schools and our universities, our outreaches, our missions, I believe that has done a wonderful service to all of humanity. Political involvement, Reverend Dr. Regina Thomas, former Secretary of State of New Jersey. She's on my staff at Grant Chapel, so we are politically involved, as is most of our churches, whether it is in local politics or, council people, Board of Education. And I believe that, leading that charge that we can serve the whole man is how the church will really benefit society. And
it's interesting that you say the whole man or the whole person, because I think many years ago, I think the idea was build this beautiful building and put a sign on it and people will just come. Yes. But I think that over the recent years, things have changed. I think that there's apprehension about certain congregations and going to some faith communities, etc. And how is AME and specifically Grant Chapel here in Trenton, New Jersey, handling some of those social ills?
We believe that persons are not coming in because of the size or beauty, aesthetics of our buildings. We also believe that if you want people to come in, you have to first go out. Grant Chapel is engaging now with the Trenton Health Team, a group, and we're going to be providing some health monitoring, some health services to the entire community, not just AMEs. We are talking with the Food Bank of New Jersey, who I worked with in South Jersey. I don't know to what degree, because I don't think we need to duplicate what the church down the street's doing. I think if we partner with the church down the street, we can reach more people. But there is so many wonderful opportunities to help folk. And I believe that that's how we win people over for Christ. Again, I just believe that until we start showing the love we talk about, people won't respond. And so it really is about going out to get people to come in.
That's fantastic. We're up on a break here. I'm speaking with Grant Chapel AME Church here in Trenton, New Jersey. The pastor, Charles Wilkins, who is from Chicago, spent some time in South Jersey, and he is here in Trenton, New Jersey with leading this congregation. We're going to be talking about some of the details about the programs that they have available and what they're doing to help edify the city of Trenton in their neighborhood particularly. You're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show. We'll be back after a short break.
On April 5th, don't miss The Best of Enemies, starring Academy Award nominee Taraji P. Henson.
I play Ann Atwater, a civil rights activist who was able to approach hate with love.
And Academy Award winner Sam Rockwell.
All the better is you don't get my way.
Well, I'm gonna get in your way.
If you change one heart, you can change the world.
I had a revival.
Then you ought to know, same God made you, made me.
The Best of Enemies, based on the untold true story. Rated PG-13. May be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters April 5th.
Are you a dog lover? Then don't miss any of your 3 chances to bring your well-behaved, 4-legged best friends to Arm & Hammer Park with the Bat Dog Bundle, a special 3-game ticket plan where you can bring your dog to the game free of charge. This season at the Trenton Thunder, 3rd-generation Bat Dog Rookie will be honored with a pair of giveaways, and you can get your hands on both of them and enjoy a night out at the dog-friendliest ballpark in all of baseball. Get to TrentonThunder.com to order your Bat Dog Bundle today.
And welcome back to the Trenton 365 show. You can send me an email, Trenton, the numbers 365 and the word show. Trenton365show@gmail.com. And I'll follow up with you. I'd love to have a cup of coffee or a meal. And we can talk about some of the things that are happening in your life and in your world. And we can see what we can do as far as collaborating, partnering, etc. to help you get the message and the word out. You can also advertise over this program or do some sponsorship as well. Just give a call over to the station, 609-695-1300, and ask to speak to Vini or Maggie. In the studio with me in the first segment of the program, I've got Charles Wilkins, who is the pastor of Grant Chapel AME Church here in Trenton, New Jersey. And we were talking a bit about his background. He grew up in Chicago, just outside of the city of Chicago, and he came east. And he's been in South Jersey for a while, but now we got him in Central Jersey in the capital city of Trenton, New Jersey. And he is the pastor of Grant Chapel AME Church, which is a 90-year-old church. And AME, for those of you who don't know, stands for African Methodist Episcopal Church. And that was founded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the city of brotherly love. So we were talking a bit about the history and about some of the programming that he has going on. And Pastor, I want you to talk now about You've made it very clear in the first portion of the program that the ministry that you're leading is very much focused on the whole person,
right.
Making sure that, hey, are they healthy? Do they have a shelter? Are they fed? And those things, and showing them the love and passion that Christ has, and then you can do the preaching and the teaching of the Bible.
Yes, I think, it goes without saying, it's hard to get a hungry man's attention. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's anything new. Jesus showed us that. And he fed, persons, and he gave the disciples orders, let's feed them. It's our issue. This is everyone's problem, not just theirs. Mm-hmm. Grant Chapel, because of our connection with the African Methodist Episcopal Church, being an AME church, one of our missions is to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, minister to the sick and the widows and orphans. And we take that very literally, and that is what we base our work on. And I look at the city of Trenton, and I see so many wonderful opportunities to reach people. Mm-hmm. We can't be satisfied to drive past folks sleeping on the streets or folks struggling to go into a beautiful sanctuary and worship. We have to have a heart for the folks wherever they're at. And I don't think Christ has ever said, I will send you the folk who are clean and prepared and educated and ready. He said, go. He said, go into all of the world. And so, we all have our little piece of the world, whether it's in your neighborhood, your school, your job, and of course, in the church. Grant Chapel, being 90 years old, has a history of helping families. And so I'm here since the third week of July, and all I hope to do is expand that work. I've got a wonderful, wonderful group of excited, on fire for Christ people who want to see us change our neighborhood, change our community, and change this city. You can't win the city for Christ. Everyone says, I'm going to win the city for Christ, and you can't even win your neighbor. And so, we preach and teach that, love starts right where the Lord placed you. And if we love people, people will respond to that love. And so that's been the mission at Grant Chapel. It continues to be the mission. I'm not creating anything new. I'm just going to try to take it to the next level as God gives me strength. And hopefully, we have a nice core of young people and millennials. And, we've had to learn to sometimes stop talking, stop preaching, and start listening, so we can hear what concerns them. We have this whole social media thing now, and I don't want to age myself, but we didn't have, cell phones. We had one phone, in one room in the house, but now these young folk have phones and they can do things we don't even understand. We don't even know they're doing, but we can use that medium, as you do so well, to reach folk and to let folk know that, there's still hope, in Christ. And but we've got to be those agents of change. And we've got to be willing to roll up our sleeves sometimes and not sing hymns, but see people. Man. And so, I
want to interject. So much of what you said just resonates with me, and it just makes so much sense. Because, you take a city like Trenton, less than 7.5 square miles, really the birthplace of America happened on the streets here, and you think about how many churches are here, how many churches have been here and are no longer in existence, and you think about some of the things that you just said, like partnerships, not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Giving some younger people an opportunity to voice their thoughts and concerns, and learning from them.
Right.
I wonder if more congregations through the years had that type of a mentality, if the faith here in Trenton would be stronger. And I know it's almost like a rhetorical question, but I want to transition and have you talk about partnerships, because you also mentioned the Trenton Health Team, the New Jersey Food Bank, and I'm sure there's a whole host of others that you've either have partnered with or plan on partnering with. Can you just talk about the importance of that in ministry?
Well, partnership means shared resources. And I don't know of any churches that could not use more help and more resources. And so, we all know the real deal, is that it takes money to put lights on and gas on and heat on, and it also takes money to do programs to help people. But if we work together, I don't have to put in the whole thing myself. I don't have to do it all. And it's not about whose name is on top. It's not about who, pictures first. It's really about, are we really concerned about making a change? We're living in a time where I think we all been in shock, since the change in Washington. And I'm not going to talk politics, but I think we've all come to understand, or we should come to understand, that if we unite, we can do so much more than doing it on our own. Grant Chapel has a wonderful history of relationships in this community. We have Mount Zion, Trenton, and Mount Zion AME here in Trenton, Dr. Smart, and, by working together, we can reach so many more people. And that's really what it ought to be about. Ought not be about who's got the biggest church, but who's got the biggest heart. And so if you and I can team up together, think how many more people can be reached. And if that takes one, young person out of sex trade, one man or woman off of drugs, it takes one single parent, and allows them to feed their children. We still have millions of children that go to bed hungry in this nation every night. And I don't know about anybody else, but it's hard singing Amazing Grace when we don't know how to show grace. And so I just believe that, if you're going to survive and you're going to really carry out the work of being disciples, then we've got to put down our color. We've got to put down our nationality. We've got to learn to speak the same language, and that's love. And it's amazing the barriers, the walls that come down. Even though there's a lot of focus on putting up walls right now, the church's job has always been to tear down walls. And until we get back to that, our communities suffer. And I just don't believe that the Lord is pleased if inside everybody is all right, but outside folks is dying for lack of basic needs, food, shelter, health care. We are making a difference, and I believe we were just scratching the surface. And I can only tell you what the Lord has done for my life. But if we can take somebody else and give them our story, think of what it's going to be like. And so,
wow. Well, that's pretty poignant and spot on. And I hope that the folks who are in the listening and viewing audience, I hope that resonates with them, and I hope that they understand how sincere you are. I'm getting how sincere you are, and the work that Grant Chapel AME is doing. I hope that it continues to grow. What are some of the things that you'd like to have partnerships with? I mean, I know, again, you've mentioned the food bank, you've mentioned the Trenton Health Team. What are some of the areas?
We're looking for persons who, there are so many organizations that offer help with addiction, help with, mental health. I still say the church has not really addressed mental health. We're beginning. We haven't got there yet. And there are wonderful, wonderful, hard-working, successful organizations that are looking for open doors. That's really what it's about. We've got the place, we've got the space. And all we got to do is invite folk in and say, bring me, what you have. And let's figure out how to together offer it to this community and every community that's hurting. Our citizens are in pain right now. We got the medicine. We got to share it.
And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Pastor?
Grant Chapel. You can go onto our Facebook page, Grant Chapel AME. You can contact us at the church, Grant Chapel. We're at 261 Mercer Street. And we would love to see you. We're there on Wednesday evenings and Sundays, and we would just love you to check out our web page, which your friend Leon Crawford does so much work on, and come by, and we need your help. We are not here to work alone.
That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charles Wilkins, Pastor Charles Wilkins, it's been a pleasure. You can consider Trenton 365 as a media partner. Keep us abreast of what you're doing, and we will do what we can to support your efforts. I really appreciate meeting you, sir.
Thank you so much.
It's been
my pleasure. All right.
It's awesome.
Love you, brother. Thank you.
Love you, too. You've been listening and watching the Trenton 365 show. First segment is done, but I encourage you to reach out to Pastor Charles Wilkins of Grant Chapel AME Church at 261 Mercer Street. For those of you who know Trenton, that's the Mill Hill section. It's not far from the train station. It's not far from the courthouse and things downtown. Check it out. So Wednesday nights and then Sundays as well, but you can check them out on Facebook as well. Links to them will be up on the Trenton 365 Facebook page as well. We'll be back after a short break.
Thank you, Jesus. Come on, Trina. Sing.
Thank you, Lord, for all you've done. Thank you, Lord, for the victories you've won. Thank you, Lord, for saving me. Thank you, Lord, you've been so good to me. Say thank you for waking me up and starting me on a brand new day. Thank you. You put food on my table. Lord, I know you're able. Thank you for keeping me safe and keeping my enemies away. Thank you. Lord, you've been so good. You've been so good to me. Thank you, Lord. Say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, yeah, for the victories you won. Somebody ought to say thank you, Lord, for saving me. Oh, with all of my heart. Thank you, Lord. You've been so good to me. Somebody say thank you for waking me up and starting me on a brand new day. Thank you. You put food on my table. Lord, I know that you're able. Thank you for keeping me safe and my enemies away. Thank you. Lord, you've been so good. You've been so good to me.
Come on and put those hands together
Clap your hands.
because the Lord is worthy. He died on the cross for us. He forgave our sins. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for keeping me. Thank you for delivering me. God, you're so faithful. You're so worthy. Come on, sopranos. Tell them thank you. Come on, sing.
I thank you. I thank you. I thank you, Lord. Help me say I thank you. Say I thank you. Yeah. I thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Alto, say good.
I thank you. I thank you. I thank you, Lord. He's been good. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you.
Come on, sinners. Say you've been good.
Thank you. I thank you. I thank you, Lord. And I get a witness. Oh, thank you. I thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Oh, I'm so grateful. Yeah. You gave me a brand new day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Nobody but you, Jesus. Started me on my way. Brought me to a brand new day. Thank you, Lord. Every day, charge of these, come and play. Thank you, Lord.
And welcome back to the Trenton 365 Show. You can send me an email, trenton365show@gmail.com. You can also find me on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Trenton365. Anyone who spends any time with me knows that I'm a book junkie. Like, I've got so many books. I mean, I like turning pages, like the term, like I'm a page turner. Like the digital stuff is cool, but I'm a page turner, and I'm super stoked. I've got Rashad Malik Davis in the studio again, and this is his latest book. We're going to be talking about this in quite a bit in a little bit. But for those of you who are interested in books and in literacy, there are so many different things that are happening in the region to encourage that. And I want you to reach out to me. First of all, I'd encourage you to check out, do a social media search for Library Boxes of Trenton. That's a project that I started where we're giving out thousands of books for free throughout the city of Trenton in upcycled, repurposed newspaper boxes. And we're doing that in partnership with Classics Books and Gifts and a whole bunch of others. So any Trenton student can get used books for free from Classics Books and Gifts, and they're open, most days of the week, and I encourage you to check them out. But if you need more information, just do a search for Library Boxes of Trenton on the internet or on Facebook, and there you can see some of the different links. But I say that because this is how I met Rashad. I met Rashad through Eric Thomas, who is a musician, a jazz musician who I do some work with Regis Entertainment. He said, look, there's this wonderful young man who's an artist and he's an author and he's putting together his book, his first book. And I was like, wow, all right, cool. Let's have him into the studio. And then I saw his first book and fell in love with him as a person. And when you get a chance to see him, this interview, you're going to be blown away. His smile's infectious. His personality is great. But he's doing some amazing things with cultural diversity and talking about, and you know, I'm going to hold off. I'm going to leave that to you. Without any further ado, welcome back, Rashad Malik Davis.
Thank you. I need like a little you to motivate me.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anything I can do to support you and help you and motivate you, you got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to tell you, I saw you, you were at an event at, I think it was the West Campus of Trenton Central. Or Trenton High School a couple of years back.
Right.
And you were so in the midst of all the students and the parents, and you're bubbly and you're doing all these things and you're talking and you got your stacks of books and you're selling books and you're doing all this wonderful stuff. And I'm just sitting there looking in amazement like, he doesn't even know that I'm here. And I'm like, I wish I had it on video, because that's the kind of thing that I think that if you saw it later, it would energize you every time.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So, and folks, I apologize because we're like old friends here, so we're just kind of rolling on talking. I need to bring it back, get it into some sort of a space so people can understand. So, author Rashad Malik Davis,
yes.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your books.
Yes.
We can say plural now.
Books now.
Now your books. So I know you've always been interested in art. And
yes.
your mother was super supportive and encouraging you with your creativity, et cetera. Can you just hash that up, that story?
Sure. I grew up primarily with my mother and my aunt through most of my life, and both of them, Brenda and Angela, both were instrumental in getting me invested in the arts as a career, and it was really me who kind of tried to push it away initially. I was very afraid of pursuing a career in the arts. You know, the stereotype is the starving artist, and I like to eat, so
Crazy.
So I knew that was going to be a problem, but what I didn't know was that several years later this would be my career. So my mother and my aunt, growing up, I grew up in a musical home. So my mother can sing, my aunt can sing, and we got that from my great-grandfather and my grandfather subsequently, who all were musical. So I started out with that, but I realized that I had a passion for visual arts as well, and I decided to continue with it. And just to kind of fast forward a bit, it wasn't until college, as soon as I was graduating, that I realized that this was kind of what I wanted to do. And then it wasn't until I was working when I was working at Merrill Lynch, I loved the job, but realized that I wasn't feeling fulfilled, that I decided to make this my full-time career and go back to grad school, and then subsequently move into entrepreneurship as well. Mm-hmm. So it's been a crazy road, but it's gotten me here, which has been beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And I want to tell you again, folks, I'm gonna hold this book up, Carefree Like Me. This is chapter 2, and I know you can't really see it too well, but there's definitely ways for you to see it online, and we're gonna get into all that in a bit. But being an artist and making that transition to an entrepreneur and actually saying, hey, I want to be an author.
Right.
That's not like it. It's not like that. Right. There's a whole series of things. And for those of you who are feel that entrepreneurial spirit welling up in you, just realize that it's natural to have that euphoria and then those low times.
Yes.
And then somewhere in between is where you settle. Can you just share about your personal experiences with that?
Yeah, no, it's been no joke. I started out very fiery, and I still am very fiery about it. But I knew my goals. I knew what I wanted to do, and I felt called to really heal through the arts, and specifically through storytelling. So, I think for entrepreneurs, having your why is pretty important, because if it's just money, it's not enough to sustain you. You need something either morally, ethically, socially, whatever, kind of pushing you along to get through those hard times, because in the hard times, chasing money just won't be enough. But And I apologize. I got so caught up in that. The question was, how did I kind of navigate being an entrepreneur?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, I want to stop you because, again, folks, this is kind of like a friendship conversation. Y'all just happen to be in on it. But what I was getting at was, there's a lot of emotion behind making these choices and these decisions. Yeah. And even though you're creative and you have talent and you have skills and people are supporting you, that's always not. That's what you want and what you need, but that doesn't always translate to actually writing the book.
Yeah. So, the process of actually writing the book and getting it out is a lot more arduous than, people would assume. It's a children's book, so it's bright, it's colorful, it's fun, but the emotional highs and lows that come with it can be pretty daunting, because when you're writing the book, you know that you like it, and when you're producing it, you know that you like it, but the process of getting it printed, getting it published, and then trying to get people interested and invested in your idea is really tough. Trying to convince people online, like, hey, my book matters amongst the millions and billions of other books that are out there, is tough. And not just that, like the amount of the toll that it takes on you. So for me, jumping into entrepreneurship meant that I had to sacrifice a lot, and that my sacrifice was financial in particular. So I had to step away from a full-time gig and step into this role. And what that meant was that I had to be on food stamps for a few months. And that's the non-glamorous side of it. But that was the reality, is that I needed help. But I think that when you are an entrepreneur, you surround yourself with people who are willing to kind of fill in those gaps for you, and people who are most often in the same boat, and you kind of lift each other up. And for me, I thankfully had my family, and I had folks like you, and of course, and I had a whole network of people who were just like, yes, I believe in you, let's push you, and that got me to where I am now. So I am, I don't want to say nothing, but I am indebted to the people around me who believed in my dream enough to let me grow, as an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. Yeah. Share your contact information before the break.
Yeah, sure. So my website is www.R.E.A.C.H, R-A-M-A-L-I-K, and then illustrations.com. My Instagram is the same, Ramalik_illustrations. Twitter is at Rashad, R-A-S-H-A-D M Davis. And Facebook is facebook.com/R.E.A.C.H Illustrations.
Fantastic. I've got Rashad Malik Davis in the studio in the second portion of the program. We're going to be talking about his latest book, Carefree Like Me, Chapter 2. Sakra the Joyous. And we're going to be talking about like the story behind it, and you're going to be interested to hear that this isn't just some characters he kind of threw together and made up. But stay tuned. You're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show, and we'll be back after a short break.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled, even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Don't wait until it's too late. Call now and get peace of mind for you and your family. Call 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290.
back to the Trenton 365 show. In the studio with me is this segment. I'm moving kind of fast because we were talking like friends over coffee earlier. But I've got author Rashad Malik Davis. He's also an illustrator, and his book is Carefree Like Me, Chapter 2, Sakura the Joyous. And for those of you who are interested, please, you can find him, the book, on Malik Illustrations with an S.com, and on Twitter, it's Rashad M. Davis. And on Instagram, it's R.A. Malik, M-A-L-I-K, space, illustrations. And all those links will be up on the Trenton 365 social media pages later on. So, Rashad, let's talk about the idea of the writing the book and where the characters came from. Because to me, that's also fascinating, the fact that how you were able to pull all of them together.
Sure. So with the series in general, I wanted to bring in ancient civilizations because I was an anthropology major, so that was literally all. That was all I did. But for this for the second book, I wanted to focus on a native culture, something that we don't really see much of, unfortunately. I think indigenous people in the Americas just typically aren't seen. And I wanted to highlight that just because, one, I felt like there was that lack of visibility, at least in the mainstream. And then two, I felt like as I was researching, this was an incredible civilization, and their descendants have continued that legacy. So, with this book, I wanted to highlight not just that ancient culture, but I also wanted to talk about the motion of sadness, right? So each book in the series deals with a different ancient civilization, but also a different emotion. So the main character, Sakura, essentially, she's going through depression. So kids will see this as sadness. They'll see it as she's feeling blue, but adults will readily understand it as depression. She is... she's the one who provides wind, rain, water to her people, but when she loses her joy, she's unable to do this. So she becomes kind of apathetic. And I think the emotion of sadness is something that we try to push away. It's something that we don't like to deal with, but it's natural, it's beautiful, and it allows us to heal through whatever we need to pay attention to. So the second book is really a celebration of not just our feelings and our emotions, but also the indigenous cultures of Mexico and the Americas in general, who are still here today, but also their ancestors as well. So it's been phenomenal.
And from our first meeting, when you were telling me about the idea, I thought it was brilliant how you were able to create something that was such a strong message.
Thank you.
But to package it together in a way that was in a children's book, so to speak, but to be able to really resonate with parents. Because I think one of our first conversations was about imagining parents reading this to their children, but also it resonating with them about their lives as well. Was that the whole idea from the beginning?
It was. I wanted to get not just kids, but adults excited about understanding their inner life, because we spend so much time go, and our culture doesn't, at least American culture, I will specifically say, doesn't really allow for much time to process and enough time to really develop your emotional life. And I found that writing this book, adults were coming to me and being like, oh, this is huge. Like, I didn't know that I was doing this. I didn't know that I had this pattern. And so at that point, I was like, whoa, this is major, because I'm able to reach not only children, but adults who also can get stuck in emotional patterns that for years that they don't know about. So it's beautiful. And, with this book, at the end, what I didn't do in the first one is that I included a section, kind of like emotional comprehension questions. So one of them is like, we all feel sadness. How do you process sadness? Do you spend alone? Do you need alone time, or do you need to talk it out? And these are just simple exercises that you can do to understand how you process grief, how you process sadness, which is really the focus of this book.
In your first book, one of the things that I took from that was that it's not really like pushing you in any particular direction. It's almost giving you an okay to be yourself and to understand those emotions. Is that how Carefree Like Me, Chapter 2 works as well?
It is, and I intentionally designed it that way because I didn't want to feel preachy. I didn't want to have somebody read the book and then say, oh, I feel like he's shoving this down my throat. It's more so this is the story, this is how these particular children are dealing with it, and it invites you to a dialogue with yourself and your kids. It's designed to be more of an invitation than it is a directive, you know. And again, I like having the questions at the end because it's open-ended, and it allows kids to really think, oh, how do I act when I'm sad? Like, what do I do when I'm feeling sad? How do I process that? How do I communicate with people? And again, the whole series is designed that way, to be an invitation to talk.
You know, and I know that I asked you this before, when you were on the first go-round for the book. Right. I know you got chapter 3.
I've got like an outline. I've got that all set up, and I'm trying to get it together now. And one thing I will spoil for that book is that it's dealing with anger, but also I'm finding that each book is a natural progression artistically for me. So what I've been doing with each book is incorporating like motifs and symbols from each culture, and art styles. So this one was very stone and kind of brick based, since that's what the Aztecs used often, and jade. But what I'll be doing for the next book is doing that in kind of like a watercolor style, since in ancient China they use a lot more water based art style. So I'm excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the characters.
Yes.
And I want you to give the background of the characters and how that relates to your actual life.
Sure. So Amir and Nina are the kind of stars of the series, right? So they're two best friends, and it's based on me and my best friend. So Amir is me. He's the one who's very hard on your sleeve. What you see is what you get, kind of acts impulsively and thinks with his heart instead of his head sometimes, which works for him until it doesn't. And then for Nina, just like my best friend, she's very type A. She's very driven. She's very logical. She's the one who kind of balances the duo. Well, they both balance each other. And so those are the two stars of the series in general. But the main characters in this book are Sacra, who is she's the goddess who kind of oversees the realm, and she's the one who's going through depression, essentially. She's the one who normally is lively. She's if not always happy, she's always able to provide her motherliness to her people, but she loses that when she loses her ability to feel joy. And all the people are kind of like half eagle, half people, so there's kind of like a fantasy realm to it. And then the other main character is I guess he's kind of like a priest of sorts. He talks to her, and he tries to get her to come down through different means, but she won't come down. So it's all wrapped up in this epic adventure. But
all right, great. Now, this book, chapter 2 and chapter 1, also introduces a variety of cultures.
Yes.
To the reader and also to the viewer. Can you share why is that so important, and why are you switching up each book for that reason?
Yeah, so I found that I grew up in Lawrenceville for most of my life, and I grew up around and completely surrounded by people from all over the world, which was such a blessing. But I found that in our current political times, it's very easy to point the finger at somebody and be like, oh, you're different, so therefore you're the enemy, or therefore you're the stranger, and then make no effort to actually get to know that person. Yeah. And so this book series is literally designed to get kids not only familiar with the quote-unquote stranger, but to get them thinking about them as people. And I think that's where things tend to go awry, is when we look at each other and we're kind of like, you stay over there, and you don't regard that as your fellow human being.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to do with the series and with these different cultures, is to introduce kids to the idea in a fun and kind of adventurous way, and again, without seeming preachy.
Now, also, when you say adventurous, I think that's a common theme with children's books, and I think that for me as a child, and I'm a big Peter Rabbit fan. I have been my whole life. And sometimes, I'm Mr. McGregor, and sometimes I'm Peter Rabbit. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the adventurism of the book and the writing style is what always stimulates me. Can you just talk about the adventure portion of your books?
Yeah. So I always like to give a sense of a little bit of an adrenaline rush, which I imagined might be a little tough for a parent reading the book to a kid trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the daytime
You can
story.
tell you don't have kids.
Right. But I'm forgetting the question again. I'm so sorry.
Of the adventures in the book.
The adventure, right. So in this book, the part that I will reveal is that Ritu, who is kind of like their guide through this world, and he's kind of a trickster spirit, he says, you know what? You've got this. I trust this. I trust you two to figure it out. And he kind of like leaves them in the middle of a desert to figure it out. And they're kind of like, what do we do now? And it isn't really until Amir notices that there's smoke coming from a portion of the desert that they should follow it. And so I always like to keep a sense of mystery, adventure, and like a little bit of risk, because that creates a sense of drive. You want to create seemingly impossible odds for characters, because then it becomes interesting to your reader.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to jump now and talk to you about you as an artist. We've talked about your book, Carefree Like Me, Chapter 2, Sacre the Joyous, but folks, you'll be able to see the links and follow the links on the Trenton 365 social media pages, etc. But you as an artist, as an illustrator, I've been fortunate enough to actually see you teaching small classes. And one of the ones most recently, I believe it was a superhero class that you were teaching over at R.E.A.H. Trenton.
Yes.
Can you talk about that portion of your creativity and your entrepreneurship?
That's one of my favorite aspects of being an entrepreneur, is that I get to share it with the younger generation. And when I was young, I wasn't really surrounded by artists, at least visual artists, and especially Black visual artists. So I had no conception of this is a career. I never imagined that I could be drawing for a living. It just wasn't a thing that crossed my mind until maybe high school or the end of middle school. And so going into these situations where I can teach is huge, because now I can inspire these kids. I can get them learning. I can get them thinking actively about technique. It's really great. And I've been able to teach at Rutgers, at Artworks, at Princeton, the Princeton Arts Council, which I'm doing the book launch at, and just all of these great opportunities to share with kids have been really phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And you're available still, small groups, private events, if people want to hire you for that?
Yeah, so things are a little bit tighter now, just because I am working full-time at American Reading Company during the week. But on the weekends, I'm still going to be teaching. I am going to be teaching at Artworks in May for a graphic novel course. So awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some of the events that you have coming up. We've got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah, so coming up on May 11th, I've got my book launch party coming, which is going to be huge. So I've been really fortunate to work with 3 key people. So first is Veronica Olivares-Weber. She is a community leader, a board member at the Arts Council of Princeton, and a teacher there as well. And she's from Mexico for the event and helping me do different different art activities. I connected with Edward and I apologize because I'm forgetting the exact name, or I can't pronounce it, I should say, but they're an Aztec dance group, so they're going to be performing at this event to kind of connect the fantasy with the reality of who these people are and their descendants. And Jennifer Cohen, who is doing PR for the event and is like my fairy godmother, so she's going to be helping out with that as well, and it's really great. It's going to be food, music, and a live performance by the Indigenous Aztec group, and art activities. So, and a live reading at 12:30.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure to have you back. You'll come back again?
Yes.
All right, so we'll have you back actually just before the May event to promote this as well. We'll schedule that right away. All
Perfect.
Right? All right. Thank you so much as always.
Thank you so much.
All right. Rashad Malik Davis, author, Carefree Like Me, Chapter 2, Sacre the Joyous, is available, or actually, when you come to the launch, May 11th from 10 to 12 at Princeton Arts Council. All this information will be on the Trenton 365 Facebook page. And come check me out, too, and I'll make sure that you get a chance to meet Rashad Malik Davis in person. Have a great night, folks. Thanks for listening and watching the Trenton 365 show.